Welcome to Accelerating Your Dental Practice, a podcast with free expert advice to accelerate your practice's efficiency, growth, and profit. Here's your hosts, dental management consultants and friends, Malika and Michelle.
Welcome back to Accelerate Your Dental Practice. Today, Malika and I are joined by a good friend of ours, Angela Davis Sullivan of Adaptive Dental Solutions. Angela has been, just like Malika and I, has been in dentistry for quite a while and has kind of touched on each of the areas of the practice administratively and clinically. We're so excited to have her join us today because we're going to talk about something that I think is touched upon, but not really talked about enough in depth. So please welcome Angela.
Good morning, ladies.
Good
Well, good to
morning.
have you here.
Thank you. For as long as we've been in dentistry, I know we all started really, really young,
Yeah,
right?
For sure. I'm only 30. Like, what are you talking about?
I'm 15.
I love it. Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about, because, the three of us talk quite a bit as colleagues. It's funny how like the three of us are kind of competitors, but also like feed each other and help each other in areas, that one of us might have a greater strength in. And Angela and I were talking about like patient retention and how, especially right now with a lot of stuff happening in the world, layoffs and uncertainties and stuff, of like, how do we keep those patients in the practice? So Angela, I'm going to kind of like hand it over to you and kind of see what like you're seeing right now or what you're hearing from clients.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me. I've been talking to clients a lot this entire year, actually. And it's been about, it started with, what do I want to do this year? I want new patients, more new patients, more new patients. And I said, that's great. And what are we going to do to keep the ones you have? And you can see their eyeballs go like, what? It's almost like they assume that's just going to happen by default, right? Like, well, why would they leave? Well, because we're probably not doing some things right. So just tapping into every practice and going, yes, new patients, fantastic. And what do you want to do to keep the patients that you have? And you can get rid of some, sure. We do that naturally, right? We've got the grumpy patients that we hope don't come back. That's okay. Getting out of network is a great way to change that dynamic, right? Get rid of some patients, make room for some more new ones that might be fee for service. So when we started going through this, we just go, okay, so what's the biggest things that happen, do you think? And so the first thing that I hit on was the importance from the team and the doctor on clear communication for what's next for that patient. I think they always assume they'll make their next hygiene visit. Why wouldn't they? And then we start, you track that, right? And you think, oh yeah, I make this next appointment for everybody. And then you look at the data and go, well, no, actually you do it about 70% of the time.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? Like, yeah. And then that doesn't count the people that come off the schedule that we never even follow up with, or maybe they get one phone call that day and kind of thing. So, just really looking at how are we training our team to create that value, that urgency for what's next for them. And what's next is 6 months from now, I need you back in my hygiene chair, and making that an important statement, a value statement. What are we going to be doing that appointment? Why are we doing that? Because otherwise, and you guys, I know you hear this, people think, oh, it's just my cleaning. Like, it's no big deal. No big deal. So people don't stay. We don't create value for it. They're sure as heck not going to think it's important if we don't do that. So what is your team saying? How are they creating that value and that urgency for them to come back? Have you guys heard anything weird from your patients, your clients? What are their patients saying, or what are their teams saying?
I have a couple offices that are going out of network with insurances, and the patients are saying like, well, I don't know if I want to schedule my 6 month because you're not taking my insurance anymore. And
Yeah.
that crushes me because
Yeah.
they are still taking the insurance. And I think like before you make that decision, right, your team has to be educated on how to speak to patients of like, of course you can still come here. And, we're finding that the patients, that the out of pocket might not be very different. So why don't you like at least come in for that visit and we can take a look and see from there. Get them back in. Don't just let them run away because they think you don't take their insurance anymore.
Which brings up the other point of retention. We do not slow down and train our team. And then we're disappointed when what did you say to them? And it's like they didn't know what else to say because they're frustrated too. When you've got a patient coming at you, either in person or on the phone, they're scrambling too, and they haven't heard the right verbal skills or even had a chance to practice them. And then we're just, stressed out and go, well, why didn't we slow down and train the team? So that's the other piece of retention that's so important is our team prepared to handle going out of network? A change in hours, a hygienist retired, or we let one go and we have a new one. I mean, that whole dynamic doesn't mean the patients are all going to all of a sudden flood and follow Sally to the other dental office. That's not what happens. You have to make sure you train your team. What do you
And
want
the
them to
whole
say?
team.
Yes.
The whole team.
The whole team, not just the business team who might answer the phone. All of those clinical team members are talking to patients too, or I hope they are, right? And they're going to ask them. And if they don't know how to answer it, then, it's another like dig, and they don't have it together. They don't know what they're doing yet. So I'm going to go someplace else. So training is critical for anything you want to do in the practice. What happens, you guys know, is like, oh, we have a new idea. We're going to implement this. We're going to do it. We talk about it, and then it's go time. And we don't really have a clear, like, what was the game plan? What were we supposed to say? When are we doing that? Oh, we started that today? I didn't know. And the whole team's confused. And then everybody's, stressed out and aggravated on, well, that's why we don't do new things. We're just going to do it the way we always did it. So make time to train. The other piece of retention, which falls into that as well, is like relationship with your patients. They got to know who you are. And, you do that through marketing. You do that in the office by having conversations with them on point. I have one practice that is just like a social club, it feels like. So you have to find that balance. You can't talk just about the social stuff, bringing it back and make sure you're in relationship with your patients because they already like, know, and trust you. Nobody wants to go start over at anything. You don't want a new hairdresser. You don't want a new dentist. You don't want a new doctor. So people will find a way to pay for it, even if you're going out of network, if they're in relationship with you. They know your name. They know about you. More importantly, you know about them. So whatever it takes to train your team on how do we gather this information about patients and save it so the next person that sees it can build upon it. So that's that relationships piece going. Otherwise, patients feel like a number. They won't even miss me. They won't even miss me.
I think that's so important what you just said there. I think that relationship is key because I think what happens a lot of times, they just like, let me just get the patient and get what they need done. And let's just schedule the next appointment. And I always say, did you find a fun fact about them so that you can talk about next time? If they're going on a trip, if their daughter's getting married, if they're getting a dog for the first time, that connection's key because I've been going to the same hairdresser for 20 some years and she changed hair salons because the one that they had was shutting down. She's at now, it's 30% higher. I considered leaving, but the reason I didn't leave because the relationship was there. And I was like, she knows my whole life story. I love catching up with her. And that's really becomes key is that the reason your patients are leaving is because there's no relationship there. It's easy for them to jump because it's just very robotic. So if your front desk is not greeting and connecting with them, and I even joke, I always tell my offices I coach, I say, find something you like about them. And it could be something you don't like. If their purse is the ugliest purse you've ever seen, just love your purse. Like it's not, say, oh my God, I love your purse. Where did you get it from? And I said, sometimes that individual just needs that. You made them feel so special at that moment that then they open another conversation or something on their shirt. You're like, oh my God, did you go to Hawaii? How was Hawaii? Oh my God, I love Hawaii. I got married in Hawaii. That's where connections happen. And then they want to come back. And because they look forward for you in the front desk, they look for the hygienist, the doctor. That just becomes a whole relationship that you didn't even imagine. And that's why they come back. Drop insurance. As long as you've been amazing and trustworthy, they'll pay a little extra to come back to see you.
Yeah. And it's interesting. All the things we're talking about aren't even system related yet.
No.
For retention.
Yeah, true.
Take note of that. That's relationship. That's creating value. Now we can talk about, so what is your system for follow-up? How are we reaching out to them? And look, there's nothing wrong with technology, but can we take that technology and maybe personalize it just a little so that it seems like it's for them? And yes, you can. And it takes an extra second, and that you can have an impact with, because then they truly believe that you are individually texting them or emailing them about whatever appointment, how are you, and create a system that is repeatable. There's nothing wrong with that. And just know that I'm going to follow up at, what is it, 1 day, or is it 2 days after they missed, or 30 days, whatever it is. And let's work the system and see what we can capture. And when you show for concern first, I think you have a bigger chance of getting them back. If you've got those relationship notes, those fun facts, tie that into them. That is so huge when you think about personalized care for them. If I personalize my outreach for you, what do you think that does for when I'm in the practice? As a patient, I'm thinking, oh, wow, how do they know that? How did they remember that? They don't have to know that we cheated and put it up, somewhere where we could all see it.
Yeah.
But to them, it's a big deal. And I'm a big believer of people will pay for what they want. They will. We can get a shirt at Walmart, Target, Neiman Marcus, Macy's. Where do you want to go get your white t-shirt? And you pick. Yeah, this one's better, but so is what you're doing in your practice. You're better than the guy or girl down the street, right? So that piece of leaving network, or I don't have insurance. It's amazing to me how many people think that if they don't have insurance, they can't go to the dentist too. That's still happening.
Yeah.
I've heard that several times in the last few months, listening to phone calls where patients were calling in and saying, well, I don't have insurance, so I wasn't sure I could come. You can go. And here's
You're a
how we
favorite.
help you figure it out. We love cash patients. Come on, we will help you. But getting the team comfortable and confident when it comes to talking about the money part, just being real transparent with your patients. I think patients start to ask questions and lose trust when we don't act like we know what we're doing, or we are confused. And then that's where people leave. If you're leaving and going out of network, and now we're confused about how much it's going to cost for them, and we can't get a clear answer for them, that's 2 strikes against us. That's when they may leave. You can still get them with relationship and try to reel that in. But if you could add getting really the most confident conversations you can have, even when you don't know the exact amount, but how can you sound confident in you're going to help them? I'm your advocate. We're going to figure this out. I know you want to stay here and still see Allison, and we're going to make that happen. Here's what we're going to do. Versus what I hear so often here lately is, I really don't know what your company is going to do. I don't know.
You should call them yourself.
Well, that's a good one. You should call them yourself. Yeah, so you hear, and that just does not exude confidence. I want to go someplace where they are confident sounding.
They know what they're talking about.
Yeah, they know what they're talking about. It's not their first time. Even if it is your first time, don't act like it.
And if you don't know, it's okay to say, like, you know what, I'm not sure, but let me give them a call.
Yeah.
Let me find out for you. Like you said, you're their advocate. So, they're more apt to stay if you're going to go that extra mile for them versus the, like, I'm not sure, we're not in network, you need to call yourself.
I know. I hear that all the time. Yeah. That's not beneficial to the growth of the practice. And I think the other part of that too is people don't think that retention is part of the growth. And it is. If you think about this, whether it's retention, mostly about hygiene, you talk about that retention for keeping them in the loop, because we know doctors scheduled gets filled from, which is why they love new patients, right? That's easy. And don't forget the people that have been coming to you. What have you been watching? Which that's another conversation, but what seeds have you planted about full mouth rehabs, smile design cases, ortho cases? You know what I mean? That finally they're ready because you've nurtured that relationship. So don't forget about those, 1,000, 2,000 patients that you have coming through hygiene that can be your next big case, and often are your next big case coming onto your schedule. And that's why that retention piece is so important.
So
that long trust building up.
So I think maybe can we touch on, Angela, your thoughts on, we know that there's patients that come in, right, there that maybe come in, a new patient with an emergency, right? They come in, you take care of their emergency, and then it's like they disappear. Why don't we get them scheduled for the comprehensive exam back in hygiene to go over everything with them? Kind of give me like some insight or suggestions on how to convert those like emergency patients into, good patients?
I love this question because here's what happens. They get squeezed in on a day to take care of their problem, which is fantastic. So, what is our team's mindset and mentality around emergency patients? What's our belief about them? And so sometimes it's they only come when it hurts. Oh, we had to squeeze them in today. Can't believe we're doing this. We're not going to do same day treatment. You know what I mean? They already have a mindset around it for whatever reason, past experience, doctor philosophy, whatever. If we can change that and open it up and say, we're going to take care of you today. We're going to get you out of pain. Let's focus on this. And what if we trained our team to automatically go, and the next step is, let's get you back for this. Doesn't have to be today. And especially if we're referring them out, you have to go here for this. What's our system for following up with them? And a follow-up can be, hey, I know you were scheduled for yesterday with the endodontist. Doctor wanted me to call and check on you and make sure you had a good appointment, that everything go as planned. Now, how about that? I'm not even asking about appointment. I'm checking on them. And then we can come back to, now let's get you back in. Let's prevent that from happening again if we can. Let's do a comprehensive exam and work them in the schedule. And I think sometimes there's a mindset around emergency patients, new emergency patients, and then there's no system in place to what happened to them. We assume that they just wanted a toothache appointment. And there are people out there like that, and that's fine. But why couldn't I still call and follow up, check on them, then see if they wanted the complete exam? And if they say no, that's okay. We're here when you need us, right? And then the next time they might see it a little differently. So no system in place. And really the biggest thing is mindset. I see it every time I'm in a practice. They add an emergency patient. You think you were cutting their hand off. When am I going to do that? You know, and it's like, okay, let's look at this as a gift. What can we do? No one's saying you got to work through lunch or stay till 8:00 tonight.
Right.
Although those are offices too, where doctors take that. And maybe that's where patients and team have been burnt before. Like, well, there goes our lunch hour, or I guess I'm not getting home for dinner tonight because of that emergency. So again, it's that team training and having the alignment for everybody to go, okay, here's what we agreed to. Emergency patients, where are we going to put them? What's their expectation for that day? What am I committed to as the doctor or owner? And then what are you guys committed to as the team? And then let's create a follow-up for them.
And you know what I tell them? I say to the team, I'm like, how many of you have been to the emergency room for an emergency, for yourself or a loved one? Obviously, everybody pretty much raises their hand. And I'm like, how would it feel if you were not seen because it was lunch break or it was 15 minutes before you were clocking out to go home? I said, treat them the way you want to be treated. They're in pain. They're here for a reason. Even if you think it's a fake emergency, that your tooth is not really hurting, because I am sure you or a family member have gone to the ER because you're like, I know I'll just get done if I go as an emergency. So when I say that, they're like, oh.
That's a good one. I like that.
It's like, let me share this because they're like, have that because I have to make it relatable, because that's the number one complaint I get in the office is like, my doctor makes us stay late or work through lunch, or half these emergencies are not real emergencies. And I'm like, okay, fair. Let's go back to your real life, yours, parents, kids. How many times have you been to the emergency room? Because we all have been to the emergency room. And then that's when they're like, oh yeah, you're right.
I like that one. That's a good one.
That is good.
I think they just get stuck because they haven't had success with it. So create a strategy that creates some success around it. And that might mean it's almost like, you know, and we do this in other areas of the practice, like we train for it in practice, right? Like we hope we never have to use CPR, but if we do, here's the plan.
Right.
Who's going to call? Who's going to do that? So you can do the same thing with your team, especially a high functioning, great team that can communicate. I'm going to take this. You go eat lunch. We'll see where we get, and then we can switch.
Yeah.
No one's going to die if we miss a meal. I mean, in reality.
And I always tell doctors, like, if you guys get back-to-back emergency and like half your team can't eat lunch, order pizza.
Right.
That's what I tell them all the time. Just order some pizza, have it back there. Yeah. It's ready to go.
It means a lot. It doesn't cost that much. Just order pizza and just like get the team fueled up so they know there's food for them waiting. Because some of them will go out to order food, so they won't have that time. So it's another stressor for them. Just order the pizza, and it makes it so much better.
So much better. Yeah, I do love that. I always tell them, just like you said, it's $25.
Yeah, it's not that much money.
Yeah, you do a lot with pizza, and they do appreciate that. That's that other connection for the team, which is why they stay where they stay, right? Because someone took the initiative and said, hey, it's going to be back there. We're going to make it work. Go grab a bite and then we'll come back to it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Deal. I like that. And then the other piece of that for retention, I think we've got to let patients know that we have personalized care for them. Right? I think a lot of times patients assume if I go to this dentist or this dentist or this one, it's all going to be the same anyways. Like it's a cleaning. That's the easy one, right? How different could it be? They do go experience it and often come back. We've seen that, which is a gift. But if we can talk to our patients, educate our team first on this is how we talk about personalized care for each patient. And then we let them know what's happening. I think sometimes hygienists, assistants, all of us, we are in the routine of doing it and we know it's personalized to them. However, we don't talk about it and let them know, here's what I'm doing. Here's what this is for you, that kind of thing. So patients don't know the difference. They don't know the difference. So talking about that personalized care for them and that we pride ourselves on that. So what's that mindset and stuff for the team? Those are my retention tips for keeping your patients.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because this is an issue everywhere too, and I'm sure you're hearing this with offices, because I'm always about, if I'm using an analytics platform, I'll say, hey, this is what you have for unscheduled patients. I want to see you hit like reschedule 10% of your unscheduled patients this month.
Right.
Like, let's aim for that, right? But then you have the scenario of like, yeah, but we're booking out until September already, or we're booking out till November, and they have a hard time saying, hey, we were going through your record and we noticed that you're past due. We'd love to get you back in the schedule in November. So it's a challenge, right? Like, other than some immediate, like we had a cancellation or a change in the schedule for tomorrow, those people don't necessarily want to come in tomorrow, right? That's your ASAP list or your VIP list, right? The people that are on this unscheduled list, like, they'll schedule, but they don't want to come in tomorrow. They want to come in. So how do you want teams to kind of approach that when you're like, you are booking out, but it's very important to still get these people back into the schedule?
Yeah, and you're right. We hear this all the time. Like, I'm not going to call anybody because I have nowhere to put them anytime soon. So when we look at that and just, but do we want these patients to come back? We look at, who's got outstanding treatment as well, who's been long-term patients, how did they get skipped in the first place? So let's reach out to them and show concern and say, hey, I know you were supposed to be here in, what month are we in? April, in March. Even that short of distance, you know what I mean? Like, we missed you in March and I'm concerned about you. We have got to reserve some time for you. Right now, my first opening is August. Let's go ahead and reserve some time for you in August. That way we know we've got something coming up for you. And here's what I can do. If I get something sooner, if there's a shift, I'll be happy to call you. And patients typically are saying, okay, August, tell me that again. So it's just, where are we showing up? How are we presenting it? What I often hear is, I want to get you scheduled, but I don't have anything until.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that wasn't very encouraging. So I change our approach and said, let's just go ahead and save some time for you right now. And we do, people change this time of year all the time. I'll put you on our VIP list and I can get you in sooner, but I want to reserve time for you now, because then it's just you're going to get further and further behind. And I don't want that to happen. I mean, not hard.
Nope.
Not hard. Just have the courage to say it. They think they're going to get so much resistance from the patient. Remember though, they changed or canceled or didn't show up for their appointment. So it's not your fault. You're their advocate coming into there. No one's going to be, so I'm overdue and you don't have anything till August. Well, yeah, you missed your appointment in March. Remember, you were on a Disney cruise, or you know what I mean? Whatever it was that you did. So they think, you're right. Let's go ahead and hold some time. That's all you're doing. And so when we can come at it from the positive piece, instead of like they're already on the phone going, but I don't have anything until September. Well, that does not sound like I want to schedule in September either. You're making it sound horrible. So just that one little shift, I think, can make a big difference for capturing those patients. And look, when I look at data and analytics like you do, I don't have a practice that doesn't have a cancellation at least once a day. At least once a day. And now they're often able to fill it, but it happens. So just build your VIP list. It's not hard to do.
Right.
Be open to it.
Yeah, I love that, because you always have to be looking, and although we shouldn't have to babysit the patients, we have to babysit the patients, because once they leave or once they call to cancel, they're not thinking about us. at all. Like life happens and they're thinking about everything else that they have to do. So we're very, very low on that priority list. So it is important to have a good follow-up schedule, that you are doing your due diligence and staying in touch with them, but not harassing them. Like do not call them every single day.
No. Yeah. So that's, I like systems, because like, what's the plan? I like to know the plan. So if it's one day after or 2 days after, and then when's the next one, and when's the next one, and just follow the system. It's not, and nor will it ever be every day. Every day. If you have that much open time on your schedule that you're panicking and calling people multiple times in a week to try to fill your schedule, that's another issue. Let's talk about that.
Right.
That's not a retention issue. You've got some other things going on. So there's a way to politely check in with them, tighter in the beginning, and then it loosens up. In my experience, so it's 2 days after you missed your due date or your appointment, a week, 3 weeks, a month, 3 months, 6 months. You know what I mean? You can create a system that works for you, that you feel good about, and then just work the system. And no one's going to be like, quit calling me every 3 months. Like people
Right.
just, I mean, time goes by quick. When we talk about that and you ask the team, like, when do you guys get your teeth cleaned? When does that happen? It's hard to get yourself an appointment, and think about going someplace else and that you might have to take off work for. And what if you miss that appointment? What happens? Like, it's hard to get back in anywhere, and your work schedule. So don't you like those offices that check in with you and go, yes, 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 thank you. I forgot about that. Because you have good intentions. I believe people have good intentions of, I'm going to call and reschedule. I'll call you when I get home and talk to my husband. You hear that stuff. But then we've all hit the back door. And if you've got children or spouses or dogs, or, I mean, it's like, that's out the window. I've got 1,000 other things happening now. I might not think about that for 4 days and be like, crap, I never did that. So they're people too who are busy.
It's hard for us to think, the three of us to think like, what do you mean people aren't thinking about their dental appointment all the time? I know we are.
How could you not be thinking about that? What's wrong with you?
So I think this is good because, like, as we said at the beginning, a lot of offices are focusing on like the new patients. And before this call, I kind of mentioned to the two of you that I have a client and they were all excited because they saw 132 new patients in March, which is fantastic, right? Like that's incredible. But when we looked, there were 150 patients that they lost. And by lost, it means either they were like 18 months without an appointment, because this particular office uses dental intel, so we can track those patients. So I think there were 50 of those 150 that were 18 months without an appointment. Those just need a phone call. Call them, try to get them back in, because a lot of times offices think like, I'll try the 3 to 6 months. I'll try the 6 to 9 months because those are the easier ones to get back in. And that's true. But that's not saying that an 18-month or 24-month patient won't come back. So you've got to work on that.
You know what I've found when calling those too, sometimes they may have even gone someplace else in that thing. And when we reach out and want them back or just to check on them, they're like, you know what? I want to come back to you because I'm not in love over here. And often, I went one time. So it's not like they've even been seeing somebody regularly. And the other piece is, if they've moved on to another dentist, or sometimes they move physically, then you can just clean up your software. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing to do. So I love that. Yeah, it is eye-opening when you see what's coming in and they're so excited, and then you go, but let's look at the real number over here.
Right.
You had 152 go out the back door. Like, oh, I did? Yeah. So where do you want to spend your energy and work on?
Right. And then the other, 80 something that they had that were marked inactive by a team member in their software, I always look and see like, why? And when they start telling me, it's like, oh, well, we were going out of network, or this, they like to see this doctor, but she left and like they don't want to come here anymore. And I'm like, well, then you missed out on an opportunity there, because why not continue to come to the same practice where everybody else, you're familiar with the hygienist, the administrative team, and there's plenty of other good doctors here. You guys missed an opportunity here to keep that patient in the office.
No kidding. That's eye-opening too, to think about, and a good reminder for all of us and doctors too. If your team is inactivating, like, make sure you're doing a chart audit first. Like, why did you choose to do that? And make sure that we're we didn't miss that opportunity. We have an opportunity in that team training as well when we're looking at filling the schedule and you have multiple doctors, multiple hygienists. Angela has always seen Allison. She will never see anybody else. Did you ever ask me? I mean, I might like her very much, but if I need a certain day and time, and that's what you've got this time, and you're telling me you're going to love Kimmy, she is so sweet. Let me put you with her. And then next time I can get you on Allison's schedule.
Yeah.
Most patients are going to say, okay, as long as Kimmy really is good, right?
Right.
To make sure your team is good. But build up your other team members and doctors. Like you said, they already like and trust you, that they know where you're going. They know you. If you give them the blessing of these other people, they're going to trust you and say yes.
Yeah. And they might like that person better.
Better.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, I like the way she did that. Or I had something really in common with her because we've got that relationship building. Oh, I'm going to visit her next time and it'll be fine.
Yeah. So whenever I see those pop-ups on people's accounts, like, Dr. So-and-so only, or this hygienist only, I always say to them, like, it doesn't hurt to ask.
Yeah.
They could say, like, no, I'll wait until so-and-so comes back.
Yeah.
Fine. Now we know for sure. But if you ask, and a lot of times, even if it's just like the one time, I'll give it a try this one time. But yes, I really want to go back to that. That's okay. You're getting them in. You're filling the schedule. You're
Yeah.
helping that patient instead of putting them off.
Yeah. I think that's the most important thing you said. You're helping that patient.
Yeah. And I think saying, like, I was actually had this conversation with an office yesterday where their hygienist, had broken their leg and can't come in for a while. So then I'm like, and I think the other hygienists are freaked out because they're like, they love her. Like, there's no way that they're going to say. And I said, just use her name and say, let's say Malika, the hygienist, has asked us to call you to get you on the schedule because she wants to make sure that you go ahead and stay on track with your appointments. And I promise you, 80 to 90% of them are going to say, okay, let's get in. And
Yes.
then next time you can see her back when she's back from leave. I was like, but just assuming that they're diehard, this person hygienist, doesn't mean that they're not going to give it a try, because we
Right.
didn't ask the question, or we didn't say, related to the hygienist that they adore, she asked us to call you.
Absolutely.
When you say that, they're like, oh, she knows, like she's asked,
Yeah. She wants to make sure I'm in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always tell team members when you're like, let's just talk filling hygiene. Hey, whoever, Kimmy wanted me to call you.
Mm-hmm.
She had something come up. She wanted to make sure see if you wanted this time. Always use their name. Same thing with the doctor. Doctor wanted me to call and check on you. He had mentioned blah, blah, blah. Every time use their name. And most people, I think you're right. They will say,
It works.
okay, yeah, she doesn't want to have you be a mess by the time she gets back from her broken leg.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It works. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's good advice. Yeah, I like that.
Well,
Patience.
Angela, this was amazing. I'm so glad you could join us today. Is there anything else, like a last tidbit, that you want to share with the listeners?
Let's see. Retention. Retain your patients and retain your team. And that's another whole conversation, as you know. And both of those things mean that you have to slow down to train and have the conversation. So don't skip that step. You'll be disappointed if you do.
Perfect ending to a great podcast. Angela's information will be available in the show notes. So if you want to reach out to her, ask her questions, she's a wealth of knowledge. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us on Accelerating Your Dental Practice. To connect with Malika and Michelle, visit czardentalconsulting.com and affinitymanagement.co and learn how they can help you accelerate your practice even further.